St. Paul, the Fan.
The 2024 TIAA Big Ten Women's and Men's Basketball Tournaments are headed to Target Center March 6th through the 17th, and tickets are going fast. For more info and to purchase tickets, head to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Yeah. Super Bowl 5-8.
From slots and craps to confetti and claps.
The elite vocal stylings of a Mitch Holthus.
All of the talk this week about the Ravens' defense, justifiably so. But the story of this game in the second half, the Chiefs' defense. A flip by Richie James Jr. That means this game is over! And you can doubt the Chiefs! You can dislike the Chiefs! You can disrespect the Chiefs! You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs being the AFC champions for the fourth time in 5 seasons. The Chiefs have the Lamar Hunt Trophy, and they're taking it to Vegas for Super Bowl 58.
Mitch Holthus, the sweet nectar of the Las Vegas Strip. The Chiefs' Vox is going back to the Super Bowl, and as Valhalla weeps, Chiefs' Kingdom roars with approval. Hello, great hearing from you.
Well, you, Vox of the Skull Nation, greetings to you on this morning. The sweet nectar that flows now through the Missouri River that drops into the Mississippi rivers are running backwards and headed up to the Twin Cities. If you look out at the river,
yes,
you'll smell the fragrance of the sweet nectar. But shout out to you and all my Minnesotan, and they mentioned the dual citizenship of the Chiefs Kingdom and Skull Nation. They and, of course, the Love Covenant. They are part of that, and they are listening all right now.
I don't think I could love you any more than I do right now. And the video of your final call I saw on Twitter, seriously, just a few casual fist bumps, people shuffling papers, almost yawning. It's business as usual for y'all down there. It's like, act like you've been there, or when you score, just toss the ball to the ref and don't do the Billy White Shoes Johnson leg waggle. I mean, it's business as usual, isn't it?
Well, you don't take it for granted, not one drop of it, not when you go 21 years and don't win a playoff game. So Mitchie the Kid is not taking any of this for granted. But let's go back to the Ravens game. And some of that was oozing out, very similar to Cincinnati a year ago in the AFC Championship game, where there's just a lot of chowder. Honestly, I love John Harbaugh as a coach and as a person. I think he's great. But that team showed, man, there was such lack of respect. It was like, okay, try to beat us and push us and bully us. That's fine. But at least respect us.
Yeah.
I mean, even the kicker is putting it like, no, kickers line up on the other side. Dinah got it. But just move your stuff over, dude. Like you're in the hash mark. and it's like, just slide it over. And he was over 3 inches just to like bait Mahomes. And Kelsey, who was William Wallace, with his sword drawn in this game, was like, no, dude, get your stuff out of here.
Yeah.
This is like some guy trying to do Pilates in the middle of your family party. Like, get out of here, the neighbor. Like, go. But it was, and then Zay Flowers, JJ. I don't know JJ, but I want him to do some seminars on these wide receivers of like, here's how you do this,
right?
And because what is this Zay Flowers' second ever playoff game? He's going to spin the ball in the face of L'Jarius Sneed, do the whole dog at the fire hydrant thing, push him down, and then 2 plays later get stripped of the ball at the goal line, and we recover in the end zone. Come on, man. And Roquan Smith, you guys had him in the division. Nags, our offensive coordinator, drafted him in Chicago. He's just going to blow up Trey Smith and give us 15 yards.
Right.
The lack of playoff experience, I thought, showed up, and the prevalence of playoff experience on our side showed up.
Beautifully stated.
Vox.
And I'm digging L'Jarius Sneed. I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, he gives up the long one to Zay Flowers, takes the load of crap he's spewing for the penalty, causes the super key fumble, and doesn't fire back with trash talking to Zay. He turned the other cheek. Impressive composure by that young man.
Clip the video and show every incoming receiver of the 2024 class.
Yeah.
This is the National Football League in the playoffs, in the conference championship game. I mean, it cost his team. In the same with Roquan Smith's stun at the end. I mean, this team now, this Chiefs team, has a combined 353 playoff victories on its roster, and our first and second year guys are 58-0. Now, I don't say that to be braggadocious. I say it because it showed up. We've got young guys that have had success, but they fought their way to that success, and they understand this is how you win these games because it's different than the regular season. And Lamar Jackson's a phenomenal quarterback. He'll be MVP. He'll be in Vegas. But he's 2-4 in the playoffs. You've got to figure out how to win these games.
Yep. And as the Dallas or the underdog role for the Chiefs goes, I mean, are they really going to make or keep and or consider Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed an underdog into another postseason game? I mean, it's 2-0. It's free money to some who spot up that way, and they're currently underdogs.
I think it'll stay that way. I mean, San Francisco's got tons of power and lots of weaponry, and you look at their stats and you do the deep dive, and it's very similar to Baltimore. And we're fine with being the underdog. That's great. This team has just been different. If people, a lot of your fans wouldn't, but some would. We did a podcast with Matt Rambola, our senior team reporter, which is called Different Paths, Same Destination. I mean, sometimes in this league, we get into false narratives or we have a, perception of a team. This Chiefs team has been totally different. PA, they went to Buffalo and rode the steed into the mouth of the dragon with sabers drawn, only to do it a second consecutive week into Baltimore. We were facing an enfilade of fire and just two breathing dragons. This is a very tough Chiefs team. They're not going to necessarily win your fantasy league, but they might win your reality league. And that's why they're here and headed to Vegas.
And Debo is such a key here with that extra week to get that shoulder right. I mean, for some reason, he makes it all go for that offense, doesn't he?
He does. And he's essentially, you've got McCaffrey, who's a runner but a receiver, and you've got Samuel, who is a receiver but a runner. And that becomes a very huge challenge in trying to deal with these guys. And they're very much they're very similar to Philadelphia. They like to follow the script. I mean, some teams, of course, all of them have their scripted 15, but I think with Coach Shanahan, he's got like a scripted 30. It's like the Holy Grail, right? It's like glowing. But if you can get them off schedule, that's the key. Same thing with Baltimore. In a way, same thing with Buffalo, and for sure, same thing with Philadelphia. If you get them off the schedule where they have to react and not make you react, it becomes the key in Super Bowl 58.
What in the heck are you going to do for a week in Las Vegas, or at least a week?
Well, let me talk about this week, though, this bye week. And it's been a lot of the thesis of the shows I've done. For years I was thinking, what's the bye? Just play the game. Just play it. No, this bye week is essential. Andy Reid is a genius. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you this, and Andy Reid said it the very first year we got to Super Bowl 54, because you're thinking, what do we do now? What do we? This week, you can't win the game this week, this bye week, but you can lose it.
Right.
If you don't take care of your business this week, that means friends and family. That means who's staying where, who's getting tickets, who's paying for the tickets.
Yep.
It's, all the cousins you didn't know you had. They start showing up. And the game plan gets put in this week. They will put the game plan in tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, and they'll go through the weekend, and we'll fly to Vegas on Sunday. But it'll be refined throughout the week, because once you get to Vegas, that thing is, oh, my goodness. It is nothing but a distraction.
Right.
The league has made Super Bowl week nothing but a distraction, and trying to almost like tantalizing players to get off the track. And Andy Reid and this Chiefs team has done an excellent job. That this bye week is essential to winning the game. You can lose the game this week.
Last one, Mitch Holthus, the Vox for the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl 58, KFAN, a week from Sunday. Have you met Taylor Swift? And do you see her hovering around the buses after games?
No. An AI will make you think she's hovering. One person came up, she's on the plane. No, she's not on the plane.
Yeah, right.
AI has her walking down the jet room. No. And I've yet to meet Taylor. I've been within striking distance, but Kels hasn't invited me to any post-game parties yet. But, I'm just kind of waiting and seeing. Now, my granddaughters, who know every song and every album, are asking me daily, have you met her yet? Can we meet her? So, I'm dealing with that. But no, I have not, to answer your question. And if you allow me to give a shout-out to all my Minnesotans, the family. My uncle is my favorite uncle. And you get plus 10 points, Paul Allen, if you've ever been to New Germany, Minnesota.
I have.
West Burbs.
I have. I'll take the 10. And
take the 10 and a bonus 5. Oh my goodness!
On behalf of Skull Nation, nothing but the best of good fortune and everything that goes with it to Chiefs Kingdom. May the sweet nectar of the end zone find everything that is the right shade of red and gold. A week from Sunday, fire a bullet and call a big one. I'll be listening, and I know you will.
Thank you, my brother, and a shout out to my amazing family up there. They're singers, they're dancers, they're cross-country runners. They're phenomenal people that are just the bedrock is their faith, and my uncle's dealing with health issues, so prayers up and a shout-out to them. But thank you, PA. Coming from you, it means the most.
God bless
you. So we'll try to go out and get a Lombardi.
God bless you, brother. Have fun, all right?
Thanks, brother. Same to you.
Mitch Holtus, Vox for the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan Miller, the play-by-play guy who has joined 9 to noon quite frequently of late. Well, he's the play-by-play guy for the Detroit Lions. So if needed, we have dusted off the therapeutic Davenport of love to verbally walk him through that. That's around the corner, but first.
The Fan and the Big Ten basketball tournament want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword cash at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword cash. Enter it now at KFAN.
KFAN, The Fan.
Don't miss the chance to see 2 legendary bands live on stage. Three Dog Night and Little River Band will rock the Ledge Amphitheater with their classic hits and unforgettable melodies on Friday, July 19th. Tickets are on sale now. For more info, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Well, an appropriate song for our next guest and one of my very favorites. He's super kind, very good at what he does. He's Dan Miller, the Vox, the play-by-play voice for the Detroit Lions. And as Donna Summer sings here, it indeed was the last dance for the division champions, and Dan joins us now. Kind of a personal question to begin, Dan, if you're okay with that, and good morning.
Hey, good morning, and always good for that, P.S.
I mean, the text you just sent me, because I was 3 minutes late, made me sad, where you're like, I'm like, hey, running 3 minutes late, Holtus is long-winded today, which is great, and because it's radio, but then you're like, paraphrasing, not doing much, just sitting around, not reading weekly releases or getting the game calling depth chart. It was sad to read that, which played in perfectly to my first question. What stage have you reached at this stage of the equation? And I'm talking about the 7 stages of professional grief. I mean, we have shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining, depression, the upward turn, reconstruction and working through, then acceptance and hope. Where are you?
I would say upward turn. And let me say this. I think, every year you finish the season, and if you finish the regular season or you get knocked out of the playoffs, there's those 2 weeks afterwards where you look around thinking, I should be doing something. Mm-hmm. And you're not. And I know you obviously, we both have other jobs to keep us busy, but we're so used to digging into boards or trying to figure out the other team or watching tape, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and there's this kind of hole left, and there's this gnawing thing at you that, man, you should be doing something, and there's nothing to do at that point. But look, I think for everybody there was anger, there was depression. And I got to be honest, yesterday Ben Johnson saying he's coming back, I think kind of turned everybody's sights towards next year, and it was like, all right, we got our offensive guy back. Let's see what else we can do. Now it's about making this team better. That was a big moment for Detroit yesterday when he decided to return.
Right, and it helps ease the pain, a
no doubt
metaphorical Band-Aid as it is for now. But when it, to say you are at the upward turn, which means shock and denial happened probably in Santa Clara, pain and guilt on the plane flight back, anger and bargaining, depression, then the upward turn. That's very good to hear. And this is therapeutic Davenport of Love radio because we care about you. And you have to hear this to clear a hurdle. So just follow me here, okay? Hit it, Maxie.
I'm with you.
Brandon Ayuk's going to his first Super Bowl.
Come on.
Christian McCaffrey's going to his first Super Bowl. Brock Purdy's going to his first Super Bowl. Just back up here, Brock. Take 1 or 2 steps back up, go down. It's over. The Niners are going to Vegas.
The Niners Radio Network. How do you feel after hearing that?
You know, that's tough because it was right there. And I think for everything that, you know, Detroit has been through and the Lions have been through, man, to see those 2 playoff wins this year, to see the electricity in the city, and then to see where they were at halftime. And believe me, I did not in any way, shape, or form think it was over. I felt good, but I didn't think it was over. And then when it completely flips and you can run through everything that went wrong, just a perfect storm of mistakes, decisions, physical mistakes, mental mistakes, everything under the sun that just went wrong. And look, above it all, credit San Francisco. They came out and played great in the second half. And I think sometimes we get too myopic and we just think about what we did wrong, and you have to credit them, and they deserve that. But, listen, man, I wanted to make that call. I wanted to be the one to say for the first time ever that the Lions were going to the Super Bowl, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you're letting it out. You may not see it now, but it's only going to help expedite scenarios that are not Ben Johnson related. For Dan Miller, excellent Vox for the Detroit Lions, and he's on the 9 to noon show. You guys were killing them. They had no chance. What happened?
Well, I think if you go first half killing them, second half they get the ball, we hold them to a field goal. That's kind of a win.
Yep.
You kind of feel at that point like 24-10, okay. And then you drive down the field and you get the 4th down, and we can go back and forth all day, which I'm sure you understand has been done here about the 4th down decision. Reynolds drops a ball that he should have caught.
Yep.
That drive keeps going. You can say they should have kicked. I get it. I mean, both sides are arguable. And then they come back and you get a ball off a face mask that flies in the air into Ayuk's hands, which is just unbelievable. And then you fumble on the next play after that. So all of a sudden it's 24-24 before you can blink because you've made a couple mistakes. Then you get the ball back. You have a 3rd down play, another drop. There was just numerous mistakes in that game, and you can go over the 4th down call late in the game, whether they should have gone for the tie or what they should have done there. But, the goal-to-go situation late where you have a 3rd and goal and you run it, which I'm sorry, you can't do that. Cost you a timeout, cost you the ability to get the ball back with maybe 50 seconds to go. And Coach owned that yesterday and said, not a good decision, probably shouldn't have done that. But, PA, it wasn't one thing. I think sometimes, and I know you field calls and talk to people and things like that, and everybody sometimes just wants to zero in on one thing. I don't think you can do that.
Agreed.
It was really a perfect storm of errors that flipped that game, and a really good team on the other side taking advantage of all of them.
Therapeutic Davenport of Love Radio with one of our favorites, Dan Miller. Just a few more here. If the Super Bowl had been in Indianapolis or like Atlanta, all right. I mean, whatever. It's Las Vegas. My God, man. Seriously, are you okay?
Yeah, listen, no, it hurts. I mean, there's no doubt. It's I wanted this for these fans, man. I wanted a parade. I wanted all of it. I wanted Detroit to experience everything that comes with it. I wanted it for this coaching staff. I wanted it for this owner. I wanted it for these players. And, I don't think I've ever wanted a game more for a guy than I did for Jared against the Rams. Oh. And he got that, and that was awesome. And so many cool things happened this postseason. And, look, I was, trying to think in my mind, how am I going to get my whole family out? How am I going to get enough tickets, all this stuff? And, you run through your mind. And that was even before the game because you start thinking about that stuff. But, look, it is painful, but sometimes that pain is part of why we love this stuff because we feel something.
Yep.
And then pain turns to hope. And the hope is, look, okay, we're in a lot better position now than we have been in a long, long time. We got a good team with good young players and a depth chart that's really looking up. And now we can go about attacking our weaknesses. For the past 3 weeks, we've been trying to hide them. Now we can attack them and try to come back better next year in what I think will be a significantly improved division. So we're going to have to, fight like heck to get out of that thing. But Look, this is part of the love affair we have with what we do and the love affair we have with sports. We know we're going to get hurt. And ultimately, you find a way to deal with that. And then, like I said, it turns to hope, because hope is the best thing we have in this whole relationship of loving our teams, is hope that the next time will be better.
A dear friend of mine who lives locally, named Jason Hatch, loves your squad, came to Ford Field when you beat us the last game of the year. And I think, in texting with him, that he's at the anger and bargaining stage of the 7 stages of sports-related grief. But I know he's wondering what your take is on why Ben Johnson returned to become offensive coordinator and ixnayed a couple of potential head coaching jobs.
I can only speculate, and I'm sure we'll hear from Ben here in the next couple days or sometime soon. But, I can go back to what he said last year. Look, Ben's 37 years old. He's been a coordinator for 2 years. I think he's a smart enough guy sometimes to know what he doesn't know. And I honestly feel like he's working in a great position under a guy I know he loves, in a city that I know he has grown to love, and with a group of players that he loves. I think he's got a great situation here. And I can't speak to what was or wasn't offered in Washington, or what he thought of those situations, but or possibly Seattle. But I do know what he has here, and I just keep going back to this PA. And look, that's a tough decision, because you don't know if you're going to be the hot guy going forward. I certainly think he will. I don't think he's going to forget how to coach, and I think people will understand who he is and the great success that he's had here. But 2 years as a coordinator, 37 years old, and the chance to keep going with something good here, I just think maybe he decided that was the way to go. But I don't have the nuance to it. I don't know what those conversations were and what it was. That Washington gig looked like a good one. You're picking second. You got a lot of money under the cap. You've got new ownership. You've got a fan base that is dying to just embrace that franchise again now that the previous owner's gone. So there's a lot of good things there, but I know Ben, and there's a lot of good things here, and I know how much he appreciates what he has.
Thank you for everything you've given the radio show the last few weeks. Been great listening to you call these playoff games, and we'll catch up soon sometime in the off season. Always here for you, man. Talk soon, all right?
Love you. Appreciate you, PA. Thanks, man.
Yep, love you too, bud. Dan Miller, Vox for the Motor City Kitties. Around the corner, we head down Mobile, Alabama way. Catch up with YA, Alec Lewis. He's at the Senior Bowl. See what's on his mind when 9 to noon.
Yay on the Fan.
Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. as your Minnesota Timberwolves take on the Dallas Mavericks live right here on KFAN. And you can hear every game this season on the Timberwolves channel on the free iHeartRadio app.
Paul Allen. What's going on?
Paul, how are you?
Good.
I was wondering when you were coming.
Alec Lewis, Senior Bowl week down Mobile way. Alec, at Alec_Lewis via Twitter or X, and writes about football, covers the Vikings for The Athletic and theathletic.com. How is it down there, man? I've been thinking about you following the story you had recently. Are you having a great time?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. I mean, how could you not have fun in Mobile, Alabama, on the streets of Mobile in the sunny, chilly, sunny weather down here? It's been phenomenal. Really the whole Viking staff is down here. Like pretty much every coach you could name is down here. And so, no, it's been great. It's been great.
What quarterbacks of note are you observing? And later in this chat, we're going to get into that story that you posted yesterday or maybe the day before that I read about the Senior Bowl primer. But what quarterbacks of note are you observing?
Yeah, definitely Bo Nix and Michael Penix. I mean, those are two guys that are actually throwing right now. Bo Nix is in the shotgun, and you could call this way better than I could. But no, Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi are down there watching those two guys. So those are the two that I'm focused on right now. I mean, there are some other guys here. Michael Pratt from Tulane is kind of an interesting name who would probably make sense as a later round guy. But Penix and Nix, I mean, you know this. I love college football. I follow it all the time. I watch it all the time. So to see these guys in person has been pretty interesting to try to connect what I've seen on TV to how they're playing.
Do you think in any way there are tells to be had by who you see there representing the Minnesota Vikings in that, maybe you can start putting the dots of first down divinity together in indicating all right, well, they're super intrigued or super immersed into this guy, so they're probably not going to re-sign Cousins.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I think it's been interesting to see which position groups and how focused some of the coaches are just down on the field. But I would say more than anything else, what I take away from seeing the way that the staff has kind of taken these first 2 days of practice is there is a lot of staff members here from this team on all positions, specifically defensively, but really all over the board. And I think that's a strategic, intentional, deliberate effort from this staff, knowing how important this draft and this cycle is. Last year, Kevin O'Connell was not down here at the Senior Bowl, and there could be a whole host of reasons for that, but it was a priority for him to be here and for a lot of the staff to be down here. You've seen Brian Flores. You've seen a couple of the Vikings defensive assistants down on the field. So more than any trying to connect the dots on strategy or Cousins or who they may draft or may not, I just think the intentional nature in which they have shown up here and treated this thing is at a level that kind of shows you how important they feel like these next few months really are.
YA, so I want to see how up to speed what I'm watching on ESPNU is with what you're seeing. For instance, Bo Nix is talking to a Giants assistant right now. He just threw a poorly timed pass behind a player with a Michigan Wolverines linebacker slipping. Is that what you just saw?
Yeah, you're about, I would say, 20 maybe seconds behind, 30 seconds behind. I just hit a play where Nick tried to read a receiver down the field, didn't look like he saw it very well, then scrambled to the left for a non-first down over near Kevin O'Connell way. So, yeah, pretty similar.
Who are all the people behind Nick's? I mean, I see players, I see officials, I see coaches, but then you have ancillary YAs off to the side and behind them. I mean, are you somewhere in that scrum?
No, I'm down on the field. They can hear me actually in the huddle. No, I'm out in the bleachers. But behind Nick right now, it's a ton of staffers. So there are NFL assistants down there watching. Grant Udinsky, the assistant quarterback coach, has been down pretty close watching the guys from behind, that type of thing. But it's staffers, it's Senior Bowl personnel, it's scouts. I mean, it is really a chunk of the NFL world. Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, is down on the field in that scrum. So it's really a who's who of everyone, and I'm not down there because I'm not important enough. You know that.
So Penix has 2 left and right, back on a 5-step drop, left hand fires it left side, caught by somebody at the 30, walks out of bounds at the 35, fumbled it like Zay Flowers, but nevertheless it would be a first down. So Penix Jr. is what I'm watching now on ESPNU while talking to Alec Lewis, covering the Senior Bowl and writing about it for The Athletic, theathletic.com. And you mentioned Vikings coaches. Okay, so most, if not all of them, are there, including O'Connell. But how do you think having defensive coaches Durante Jones, Michael Hutchings, and Emarje Alberry coaching some of these guys helps the Vikings and what's coming up with the draft?
Yeah, I think it just adds another data point to their overall evaluation. You saw last year, in terms of Ivan Pace Jr., the value that the Senior Bowl offered. I mean, he had among all the defenders who were down in Mobile last year, he had the best week, Ivan Pace Jr. Then he goes undrafted, but Brian Flores spotted him throughout the course of that week and was really intentional in wanting to bring him in. So I think just having guys like Durante Jones, the defensive pass game coordinator, Michael Hutchings, assistant DB's coach, having those guys down on the field working with the players. Like, I don't think people know, but when these guys arrive at the Senior Bowl, they kind of like are thrust into a quasi playbook, and it's more defensive terminology, more NFL terminology. So it's a quick assimilation for them into what it's going to be like when they're drafted. And so for guys like Durante on the Vikings staff to see the way some of these players respond to this integration into an NFL-like environment is a really valuable data point. And you get to they get to talk to the kids beyond just the interviews, which are more structured and prepared and probably more cliched. So, again, you look at the positions they have coaches here, which is DB and edge rusher. Those are 2 positions of need that I would highly expect this team to target in the draft.
Is it windy?
Yeah. Does it sound windy?
No, but every pass Penix has thrown, it better be windy. Holy cow. I mean, my man threw it behind the guy on the screen, the Michigan tight end, and then yelled at somebody, like either the tight end for running the wrong route or Giants' assistant guy. I mean, this is controversial down there, Alec.
Yeah, it's getting pretty feisty, getting pretty tense. No, I'll tell you. I mean, and you know, I'm not an elite quarterback mind. I've never sold myself in that regard. That's more of the Kevin O'Connell territory. But I will tell you, just from watching these 2 days, like Bo Nix and Michael Penix, the 2 guys I came here really wanting to see more than anybody else, have just not been. I've just not been blown away at all. Like I just really have not. And you're probably seeing it on TV now. But I mean, there's been some accuracy stuff. There's been, and who knows, for all a host of reasons, it could be the receiver, whatever. But like we talk about this quarterback and the potential that the Vikings could move up or draft a guy. And I mean, I really think if you're going to do that, you want a guy who can potentially be transcendent for you. And from what I've seen for 2 days and with my very amateur eyes, I'm just not sure about that with these 2 guys.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be the late Don Coryell or like offensive coordinator. You don't have to be Norv Turner or Gary Kubiak to see Penix is throwing it too hard. It just went off the face mask of a player. He's throwing it behind guys, and it's just not a great showing right now. Now, granted, that's a snapshot, but like yelling at Giants assistant coach guys, probably not preferred. Let me ask you this: who's Deontay Lee, and what is he to us?
Deontay Lee is a draft analyst for us. He actually coaches football out in California. He used to work for PFF, and now he writes for The Athletic.
His mock at The Athletic right now, theathletic.com, very inexpensive to subscribe. It's fascinating. I mean, he has Jaden Daniels 8th to Atlanta, the Vikings taking a corner, and maybe my favorite guy for the Vikings, if it's not quarterback, Illinois defensive tackle Jerzon Newton, 28th to the Bills. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Terrion Arnold is the quarterback I believe he mocked, and Terrion played at Alabama, so you know I'm going to be a big fan. But in all seriousness, he is a feisty, physical guy who is unafraid to get up in you in man coverage, and you can imagine Brian Flores liking that for a defense that really wasn't able to play that style, his preferred style, all season. You mentioned Jerzon Newton and defensive tackle, and really, like, if there is a defensive tackle type player who has some wiggle to him, can rush the passer a little bit, but also can hold the point in the run game, I really think that's going to be intriguing and enticing for this team. I mean, obviously, the positions of need are all over the place. We've talked about this time and time again, but to have that guy in the middle on the front defensively just feels like it would be so valuable to what you would want to build defensively. And I know they feel that way too.
Right. PJ Fleck joins 9 to noon each and every Monday during the college football season. So like I do my best, depending on if the Vikings are on the road or whatever, to watch all those games. And when they played Illinois, I'd never heard of this Jerzon Newton. I think he was suspended for the first half, maybe the first quarter of the first half. And holy cow, first time I saw him, I'm like, yes, please. This guy is fantastic. And if there's a better 3 technique, a pass rushing defensive tackle in the draft, somebody's going to have to point him out to me. Jerzon Newton, get to know him. What Senior Bowl primer at The Athletic and theathletic.com, penned by YA. 5 players at 4 positions they'll be watching. 2 of them are quarterbacks. And what led you to Bo Nix?
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix is a fascinating guy that I think a lot of people, both externally in the scouting, analyst scouting community, have been interested in, but also team personnel has been interested because he started at Auburn for 3 years, and he played behind a pretty bad offensive line and was not very good. And then he transferred to Oregon and was putting up college football leading numbers. And so a lot of people externally and within teams, I think, were looking at it like, is he a byproduct of this system? Has he developed? Has he grown? And you mentioned this earlier, like the snapshot that you get here is just a minor data point to the overall picture, but to see the way he throws the ball in person, to see the way he reacts against some of the best of this class and age group, I know was going to be interesting for everybody involved. You've seen the Viking staff really kind of fixate and watch him. So that's what landed me there. And there have been differing mock drafts, like Dane Brugler, who writes for The Athletic, had him, I believe, in the late part of the first round. Daniel Jeremiah at NFL.com had him 14th to the Saints. And so that wide gap of what people think or don't of Bo Nix is intriguing and probably will be leading up to the draft.
What led you to deep dive, observe, and write about South Carolina's quarterback Spencer Rattler?
Different than Bo Nix in that he is like Mr. Arm talent guy. I mean, he is like, you see him on the field, you're like, man, I don't know. I like that Caleb Williams guy, but this guy, I mean, he's pretty talented. He can move all over the place. But there are a lot of questions, I think, with his size, he's like 6 foot, but also with some of his decision making. And if you've listened to, I know you have listened to Kevin multiple times talk about what he seeks in quarterbacks, it's accuracy, it's field vision, it's decision making, it's the ability to play within the rhythm and the timing of the play. And so I'm not sure if Spencer Rattler provides that, but this is another opportunity to evaluate it for sure.
I think you bring up a really interesting topic, and we started to touch on it a little bit yesterday. But in thinking about the potential of the Minnesota Vikings trading up for one of the 3 ballyhooed quarterbacks, I'm just wondering with Jaden Daniels, there's improvisation to him, and I don't look at him as a system quarterback. And it's important to O'Connell, who like Shanahan, McVay, and all the way back to Bill Walsh, it's important to run the system the way the plays are supposed to be run. So I'm just like watching Jaden Daniels over the weekend, wondering how O'Connell would handle the improvisational skills of somebody who's just a super athlete,
No, it's a great question. And it's funny you bring this up because probably a few weeks ago, I was trying to watch film. I watched film of all these guys, multiple games of the J.J. McCarthy's, Jaden Daniels. And the one thing, I remember watching Jaden Daniels against Florida. I went back and watched the 68 offensive plays from that game. And the one thing that stuck out to me multiple times was he kind of went through his reads it just didn't look very clean, but then he scrambles for 60 yards and makes it look great. So it's yes, he has the athletic talent to do that against college football players, but can he do that against NFL level talent and remain healthy doing that on a consistent basis? It's a very valuable question. And I brought this up kind of to you last week, but people always say you trade. It's a great draft class. trade up and draft the guy you like. But if, in all seriousness, I mean, the odds of hitting on a guy, even if you're trading up for one of the guys deemed as one of the best quarterbacks in the class, your odds of hitting on that guy are still probably just a coin flip. And so, while I don't say that to say they wouldn't never do it, I think it's definitely possible if there's a guy they like. I just think it's important. It's kind of like in the NFC Championship, people getting mad at Dan Campbell for going for it on fourth, and they're like, if you just took the points, well, taking the points you can't just take the points. It's a 48-yard field goal that the guy who Michael Badgley had to hit. So it's easy to say trade up and draft the guy who's going to change the franchise, but the odds are the odds.
Who's number 2, Hart?
Not totally sure. Hart, you said?
Number 2, he's on the field. Why I ask is because Jets assistant coach guy, I mean, was just like laying something out for him for about 45 seconds as I'm watching it, and I'm just trying to like get a feel for what I'm watching because YA is there.
Maybe they brought Josh Hart, the NBA player, over, and they're trying to teach it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, looking for underachieving doubles at the NFL level.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
What's nightlife all about down Mobile way? I mean, I've never been to the Senior Bowl, but know a lot of coaches and people who have gone there. And year after year, I always hear like in the evening when people start having some drinks and you got coaches looking for jobs, that like the job search, the verbal LinkedIn that can take place at bars and lobbies and stuff like that. It's definitely palpable. Have you noticed that?
100%. And that is, I mean, when you come down here, you're here for watching Josh Hart play football, and you're also here for the time out late at night. And if I sound slow, there may be a reason for that, or there may not be, but you'll see groups of coaches. I mean, it's been interesting because there are a lot of college coaches here, like the Steve Sarkisians of the world. I saw one of the Georgia defensive coordinators, and you see them mingle with some of the NFL staff. And so you'll see a Viking staffer, for example, talking to an offensive coach who coaches college football. And I got to imagine ideas flow from that type of thing, connections. But yeah, you run into guys at some of the bars and the restaurants and see agents mingling with certain coaches and stuff. So it's a fascinating experience, and I think Mobile, it livens Mobile to a level that Mobile should be thankful for, if we're going to be quite honest.
Yeah, like Indianapolis with the Combine. It's like when, they start speculating, let's bring the Combine to Vegas and to Los Angeles and that. I mean, okay, I like those cities. It would be cool. Indianapolis, it's not the most fun city in the history of the world, and everybody's been to St. Elmo's now probably 30 times, but it needs to be in Indianapolis because of the accessibility. And to close, when it comes to Steam Central, Speculation Central, like where you're getting information for background that you can use around free agency or the draft, where do you find it to be more accessible? Like when you're chatting with Tom Condon or Drew Rosenhaus in Mobile or in Indianapolis?
I would say Indianapolis is more fruitful when I'm sitting down with Drew Rosenhaus. I mean, we get dinner once a week typically, regardless. So, but I would say Indianapolis is probably more fruitful. The one thing here is the coaches, are doing a lot of interviews with some of the players in the Senior Bowl. So, for example, these practices will end around 3, and then the teams will go for about 5 hours from like 4 to 9 or 10 and go interview players. And so from that window, you don't really see a ton of guys. You can obviously meet up with your Drew Rosenhauses and your Tom Condons, and I do that, of course. The Athletic sends me down here to sit with Tom and hear stories about Drew Brees, et cetera. But, the Indianapolis is different in that you can just walk from hotel to hotel and spend time with anybody and everybody. But it's similar for sure. You're on it.
That Bo Nix pump fake run I just saw. Hey, yes, please. Wow, that was super crafty, YA. Man, I got to get down there to this one time. This looks like so much fun. You're awesome.
We'll bring you down here. The Floribama trip needs to happen.
Yeah, 100%, specifically on Russo's dime. Look at the Bo Nix fade to the right. Yeah, wow. USC guy, I think, on the catch. All right, you're the best. Call you tomorrow.
Yep, morning. Bye-bye.
Yep, good morning. Alec Lewis, The Athletic, theathletic.com. To the Wolves with analyst Kevin Lynch joining us in studio.